the flower that never bloomed. High atop a silent mountain, where the wind barely whispered among the pines, lived a young monk named Run. Every morning, just as the dawn painted the sky a faint pink, he would walk down to the temple garden to watch a small flower that had yet to bloom. The other buds had already opened, revealing their colors to the world, but this one remained closed, as if it were sleeping in a different time. Impatient to see it blossom, Run began to water it more, shield it from the wind, and whisper gentle mantras. Day after day he insisted, waited, hoped, but nothing changed. One afternoon, the old Master Tao, who had been watching him quietly, sat beside him and said, "Some flowers are born with spring, others with autumn. Forcing them to open too soon only tears their petals." Ren lowered his gaze, feeling the weight of his efforts. In his longing, he had forgotten the essential truth. The flower was not his. Time was not his own. And so, for the first time, he simply sat, without expecting, without asking. He just breathed beside it. The days began to pass as slowly as leaves fall in autumn. Ren no longer watched the bud anxiously. Instead, he sat under the same tree, in silence, letting the sun gently caress his face. He learned to listen to the distant song of the cicadas, to notice how the breeze changed when the clouds covered the sky. He realized that the earth, too, breathed, and even silence had its own rhythm. Everything had its time, and in that time there was no rush. He no longer went to the garden hoping the flower would open. He went to be with it, doing nothing more than sharing the moment. And it was then, when his heart stopped pushing time, that something gentle began to happen. One ordinary morning, without fanfare or celestial trumpets, a petal loosened. It was not a spectacle. It was barely a gesture, like a whisper from the flower that said, "Now!" Run did not smile, nor did he celebrate. He simply nodded in silence, as if the universe and he had silently agreed without words. For he understood that nothing true needs to be forced. It only needs to be accompanied. From that day on, Ren changed without realizing it. He no longer walked hurriedly through the temple halls, nor did he try to resolve everything quickly. When the rice took longer to cook, he simply added more firewood. When the rain fell and prevented him from going out, he stayed and listened to its music on the rooftops. He had understood that life does not follow our clocks. One morning, while sweeping dry leaves from the courtyard, a novice approached him with a furrowed brow. "Master Run, why doesn't my bonsai bloom? I take great care of it, but it still looks the same as it did weeks ago." Ren smiled and offered him the bowl of water he was carrying. "Drink first," he said, "and then tell me, do you think the water is trying to get to the bottom of the well faster?" The young man looked at him, not fully understanding. "The flower, like the water, knows where it is going. Your only task is not to get in the way." The novice lowered his head, somewhat embarrassed. Ren placed a hand on his shoulder. "If you feed it with patience, it will grow. If you love without expecting anything, it will bloom. But if you push, everything breaks." The words hung in the air like leaves that had no hurry to fall. Months passed like the wind through bamboo, quietly, without leaving an obvious trace. But in Ren's heart, something had taken root deep within. One day, while walking along a forest path, he saw an elderly woman trying to lift a stone to let the water of the stream flow more forcefully. Her body trembled with the effort. Ren approached silently and offered to help, but she declined with a calm smile. "I don't want to change the course of the water," she said. "I'm just trying to understand why it stopped here." Ren sat beside her. For hours, they watched the water slowly flow around the obstacle. It didn't rush like before, but it didn't stop either. It had found its way, its path, without the need for force. "The water always finds a way," Ren said, more to himself than to her. "It doesn't struggle, it doesn't push, it just adapts. And that is why nothing can stop it." The old woman looked at him with tenderness, as if recognizing a shared truth. Sometimes we believe we must push everything forward to move ahead, but life, like the water, already knows where it's going. And in that moment, Ren understood that not only flowers and rivers follow their own rhythm. So do dreams, love, and answers. They come when they must. Not before, not after, only when we are ready. On his way back to the temple, Ren walked slowly, as if each step were enough in itself. The mountains were bathed in gold by the light of the setting sun, and the distant sound of a flute seemed to rise from the very wind. When he arrived at the garden, he stopped in front of the flower he had once longed to see bloom. It was no longer a bud. It had unfolded its petals with perfect delicacy, and now, slowly, it began to wilt. Ren did not feel sadness. On the contrary, his heart was filled with serene gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered, not for having opened, but for teaching him that everything arrives when its time has ripened within, like the moon that does not hurry to appear but always rises when the sky is ready to receive it. That night, under the shadow of the old tree, Ren wrote in his bamboo notebook, "Do not hurry the seed, do not push the river, just be, and let life unfold like the flower, without haste, without noise, without fear." The wind played with these words as if it too understood them, and for the first time, Ren did not wish to change anything about the world, for he had remembered the essential truth. What is meant for you will come without being forced. The next morning, Ren woke before dawn, not out of anxiety, but because his heart had attuned to the rhythm of the world, like a drum that beats in sync with the earth. He went to the pond and sat down to meditate as he did every morning, but something was different. He was not seeking calm. He was not seeking answers. He was simply being. The fish swam beneath the surface with no apparent direction. The dragonflies danced among the reeds without reason, and a leaf floated without knowing where it was going. Everything happened without the need for intervention. In that moment, Ren understood something he had only heard in words before. The universe does not need to be corrected. It only needs to be understood. He had spent his whole life trying to achieve something, pushing time, controlling the outcomes. But everything valuable, the flower, the water, the peace, had come when he stopped forcing, when he trusted. So, with his eyes closed and a smile for no reason, he felt for the first time that he needed nothing more, that life was already complete, and that his only task was to allow it to be. As the seasons passed, Ren's name began to be whispered among the pilgrims who came to the temple seeking guidance. Some arrived with broken hearts, others with minds full of noise, and many with the anxiety of wanting immediate answers. But Ren did not offer quick solutions. He did not give long speeches. He simply invited them to sit and observe. "Look at the bamboo," he would say to one of them. "It grows inward for many years before showing itself. Would you call it slow or simply wise?" To another, he served tea without speaking, allowing the aroma to do what words could not calm. "Life," he would add later, "is not conquered, it is allowed." Many left without fully understanding, but over time, the seeds of his teaching grew in silence, just like everything that is true. For Ren did not teach with effort, but with presence. He did not guide with force, but with space. And all those who had once believed they needed to push destiny began to notice that the more they let go, the closer they were to what they sought. As if life waited patiently for us to stop fighting only to embrace us. The years passed like the flight of a crane, silent, graceful, inevitable. Ren, now elderly, continued to walk each morning through the same garden where, long ago, he had waited for the flower. His step was slow but firm, his gaze deep as a calm lake. One day, a young child approached him and asked, "Master, how can I know if something is meant for me?" Ren bent down with difficulty and picked up a dry leaf that lay on the ground. "If you have to force it," he said, "it's not the right time. If, when you let it go, it returns gently, then it was yours by natural right." The child looked at him, not fully understanding, but Ren only smiled. He knew there was no need to understand everything right away. The deepest truths are like the seasons. They arrive when they must. That afternoon, the old man sat under the same tree, closed his eyes, and took a deep breath. The wind caressed his face, the sky opened like a blue mantle, and life simply was. And in his last thought, before drifting into peaceful sleep, Ren felt something as clear as silence. Nothing true needs to be pushed. Everything that is yours will know how to find you. And so, like the flower that was never forced, Ren bid farewell to the world, in full bloom,